There are a lot of expressions that and concepts and ideas that come to people's mind when they hear the initials AC. Some people think it's Anderson Cooper. Some people think it's always cool. You know, some people think it's Ash Cash, and some people may think that it's Alex Christopher. Well, I'm gonna just define what AC is gonna mean now and what it's going to mean when you hear AC squared. Now, AC squared means you got two different forms of ACs, that's combining and we squaring it. Now, I'm not a good mathematician, but AC squared means something is the same thing as automatically produced or something like that. But anyway, I'm so happy to have a good friend of mine, a colleague, and I was just telling somebody that sometimes spirits meet each other, and sometimes chemistry meets each other as it relates to human beings and people. Well, the name of this show is A Call to Action, and I am the host of this show. But because of the meeting of the minds and the meeting of the spirits and the meeting of somebody else who's also called AC, he and I both said, we got a lot of things going on. We got a lot of similarities, and there is a major difference that might generate some differences in thoughts and perspective and things of that nature. But then there are a lot of similarities we found and discovered as it relates to where our hearts are, where our minds are, what our intentions are, what we like to see for the community, how important education and information is. So I don't know which one. It doesn't matter which one of us did it. So, hey, man, either AC said to that AC or that AC said to the other AC, say, hey, man, we need to get together and do something different. One of us got gray hair and one of us got black hair. One of us different decades and things of
Yes,
that
sir.
nature. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very, very proud for you to be the first to know about the oncoming of a show, a podcast, an informational platform called AC Squared.
Yes, sir.
And that AC is going to be AC1 is Ash Cash, AC2 is AC Habersham. Also, and I'm going to tell y'all a secret. A lot of y'all don't know this, but I've been called AC. People who call me AC been knowing me for a long time. And I know some people who have, well, even those people who didn't had known me all this time, they say, wonder what that C stands for. They know the A stands for Alex. What the C stands for? Well, the C stands for Christopher, y'all. So, feel privileged that if you wanted to, you can call my whole name, Alex Christopher Habersham. And then I'd like to turn it over now to my compatriot, the other part of that square,
Yes, sir.
Ash Cash Exantus.
Yes,
Take it
sir.
away,
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you for for having me on the call to action. But definitely this announcement is exciting because I believe that the reason why the black community doesn't prosper the way we should be prospering is because we talk about generational wealth, but that generational wealth a lot of times is relegated to money, right? Like, are we passing down money, right? Are we passing down assets, right? Are we passing down what people have defined as wealth to the next generation, not realizing that true wealth is knowledge, right? True wealth is passing down what we know, what we've been through, our experiences to one another. And so when you and I met, kindred spirits. Like when I look at you, I look at a wiser version of myself. There's a lot of similarities. It's like they had the movie Back to the Future. When I look at you, it's like I'm going towards the future. You know what I'm saying? You're handsome, you're charismatic, you care about the people. All of the things that people have told me. I didn't say it, right? People have told me that I have those same attributes. And so I'm excited because, again, what we're about to do, right? AC squared is really about bridging the gap, right? Taking all of the information that we both have, right? So, so I've, been fortunate to, be on this earth for 4 decades. And just being on this earth, I've learned a lot. And AC has learned a lot, and there's a lot of wisdom. And I believe that when we take those wisdoms and we put them together, right? Because there's a lot of things that I don't know either. But I think when we take both of the different wisdoms and we put them together, we could truly move the needle forward. When you think about technology, when we think about everything that my generation had been privy to, what we're missing, right? What we're missing is knowledge of those that came before us, so that way we don't make the same mistakes, right? A lot of us are making a lot of mistakes where we got access to the money, we got access to resources, we know how to become international, but there's a lot of mistakes that we're making that I know that those who came before us could help us out. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
Well, I too am excited. And then as you were talking, I thought about a commonly used expression called bridging the gap.
Yes.
And I think that one of the problems, not only as it relates to individuals, not getting along with each other, and not only as it relates to different generations, not understanding that everybody brings to the table. I think about how that hurts us,
Yeah.
how that hurts the community. We got all of these resources, but unless there's some unanimity, if you please,
Mm-hmm.
unless there's a connection between us, unless I learn from you and you learn from me. And I mean, when I say you and I don't mean just the two of us. I
Yeah.
mean that generally and broadly. So I mean, this can be so powerful and so phenomenal. And then the other thing that we both agree on, I think, and I'm sure of it, is that, sometimes when you're in projects and activities, they call it, they use the expression results oriented,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we're after. You're a financial planner. I'm
Yes.
a community activist. And so what we want to try to do is to use those experiences in both of those categories to make a difference,
Yes.
in the community and to generate results. I
Yes.
mean, we can look, man. I'm so hopeful that this, as a result of the knowledge and the information that we impart to the community, that we can immediately begin to see,
Mm-hmm.
some changes in behavior, some appreciation of where we are, some acknowledgement of all the power. I'm gonna
Yes.
say that again. I like the way that rolls. All the power
Yes. Yes.
that we have,
Yes.
and if we can just be influential and instrumental,
Yes.
you know, in making the community aware of the power,
Yes.
and then somehow motivate the community to say, "Hey, well, let's be aware of this power, but we got to
Yeah.
use it."
Use it.
I
And,
told
and
somebody,
and and use it collectively, right?
yeah,
And use it
yeah,
collectively, because one thing I also want to point out is that a lot of times, we become a victim to the ego, right? And Wayne Dyer, says this, right? Wayne Dyer says ego means edging God out. And so let's be also intentional that we're not edging God out, right? We're not leading with our ego, because the one thing, and I see this all the time, which is disheartening, is you got information, but you don't want to share that information that can help me, because you feel like it'll propel me and not you. And now you want to hold it to yourself, not realizing that when we propel each other as a community, right? That's the only way that we are able to use that power, right? When we understand, and even when we were at the at the summit, at the event, when we talked about government, corporate, education, entrepreneur, like all of these entities must work together. And a lot of the reasons why we don't work together is because we're edging God out. We're using, we're leading with our ego instead of leading with love, right? God is love, right? Regardless of what you believe in and where you're from and whatever. God, the definition of God is love. And so if you lead with love, then you will want for your brother and sister what you want for yourself, and that is leading with love. When you start thinking, in lack, right? I always have to say abundance is your birthright. When you start thinking in lack and don't want to share the information, right? You're not leading in love, which means you're leading in ego, and because you're leading in ego, you're edging God out.
Yeah, yeah,
Just want
that's
to
absolutely true.
pull that full circle for us.
Yeah, yeah, well, that is full circle, bro. But what I'd like to do is just take a moment, Ash, since this is not our first rodeo,
Yes, sir.
but this is the really more or less the introduction of AC Square. People fairly familiar with me, and you can ask me any question you want to ask me. But just talk a little bit about yourself. I want folk to know who and what I'm dealing with.
Yes, sir.
And that this
Yes,
ain't
sir.
just fly by night egotistical trip.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real effort to combine some resources and be an example of doing what you just said.
Yes, sir.
That we should do as a community and as individuals. So talk a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my name is Ash Exantus, but mostly known as Ash Cash. So Ash Cash Exantus. I am a former 15-year banking executive. So I'm originally from New York City, Harlem, right? Home of the Harlem Renaissance. So I got it in my blood. This community, this love for the community, this newness of making sure that we come together. It's in my blood. I'm born and raised in Harlem. I grew up in public housing, so I grew up, in low income. To a single parent home. My dad left before I was born, came back when I was 2, but he was in and out of my life. But my mom raised 3 of us. I'm the youngest of 3. I've always been an entrepreneur my whole life. Starting at 8 years old, I used to pack bags at the local supermarket. At 11 and 12 years old, I was selling mixtapes and T-shirts on the famous 125th Street. So I've always been an entrepreneur. So that's also something that just innately came to me. Fast forward, I was never really a smart kid in education. I was kind of bad, right? I got kicked out of school a bunch of times. But I eventually was able to stay out the streets and get a job at a video store. A lot of y'all might know Blockbuster Videos. That was my first job. Did that, got promoted to assistant manager one day. I believe it's God, but some people might call it luck. A young lady came into the store and was like, hey, they're hiring at Chase Bank for tellers. I was 19 at the time. I was like, man, I the only place I could go from the video store was store manager. I was like, I didn't want to do that. So I took a chance. I took a chance in the banking world, became a teller at 19 years old, and the rest is kind of history. I did everything in banking, from teller to personal banker to branch manager. I was a VP at the one at Chase at 24 years old. I continued to work hard. By 31, I was a CEO of a credit union, one of the youngest CEOs of a federally chartered bank, and so had a great career in banking. But I've kind of felt like I was actually listening to a Malcolm X tape, and Malcolm X talked about the brain dump that happens in our community, where we get all of this information and then we go to another community, to the suburbs, to Westchester County, and we start spreading that information. And I felt like he was talking to me, because at the time he said it, I was actually working as a manager in a branch in Westchester County. So I didn't live in Westchester County, but I was working at the suburbs. So I said, brother Malcolm's talking to me. And so I decided that I'm not going to be somebody who takes the this information out of our community. And in the words of the Honorable Sean Carter, Jay-Z, there's much bigger issues in the world I know, but I first have to take care of the world I know. And so I retired from the banking world. I wrote my first book in 2009. It's called Mind Right, Money Right, 10 Laws of Financial Freedom. I've since published 17 books, all about finance and abundance and everything related to the laws of the universe, everything that just helps you become a better person. And I decided that I would dedicate my life to educating our community. And so I started a podcast. I have a podcast called Inside the Vault with Ash Cash. It's a top 200 business podcast. It charts in 26 countries, so not only just here in America, all over the world, 26 countries. And so this is why, from a connectivity perspective, I feel like this is awesome, because not only have so I've generated, millions of dollars as a entrepreneur for different businesses that I've been a part of. I've also coached a lot of business owners as well, to build 6 and 7 figure businesses using a book. And so I have a methodology. I call it the 4 E's to wealth circulation, which you anchor with a book and you create different products and services. So I also having a coaching company called Book Rich that I help other people do the same. And I think that, again, this is where this connectivity comes in at, because with my education and what I've been able to do and learn through technology, through my knowledge and technology, right? My corporate knowledge, with my entrepreneurial knowledge, with my knowledge of artificial intelligence, social media, I know all of that very, very well. And now you couple that with a man who's been on the ground, for 3, 4, 5 decades. I don't want to, I don't know how many decades you've been doing the work. But for somebody who's been a pillar in the business community, there's a lot that I don't know as an entrepreneur. Like, I've made a lot of mistakes. Like I said, and I'm not giving you hyperbole. I've generated millions of dollars as an entrepreneur, but I've also made a lot of $1 million mistakes, right? A lot of them. I'm talking about, man, I don't even like some of the mistakes I've made. Like, if I start talking about them, like, it'll make your stomach hurt, right? But I also understand that, and I don't take it back. Like, I needed to learn it. But imagine, right? Imagine if I had an AC in my life, right? Imagine if I had an AC in my life and I say, I'm about to make this big investment in this thing, and AC, look, Alex Christopher is like, nah, that's not a good idea, right? Let me tell you why it's not a good idea. And then from that wisdom, I could have been able to, save a lot of money and invest money a little bit differently, right? And so this is where this connectivity comes in at, because I'm a first generation entrepreneur. None of my parents weren't entrepreneurs. Everything I'm learning trial and error. And so, so that's me. But then also, that's why I need AC in my life, and we could share information, because these mistakes that are costing us, and I know I'm not the only one. I know, as y'all hear my voice, a lot of y'all out there are saying, man, I made a lot of money too, or I made some money, but I've lost some money too, right? And so how do we stop the bleeding from that happening?
Well, let me speak conversely.
Yes, sir.
Let me come from the other side of the track.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to both end up on the track, because you from that side and I'm from this side. But, what we're trying to do is to put that train on the track.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To go down the train. So I was trained as an educator, school teacher, who came up with an idea of wanting to go into business. Now, let me couple that with what was deeply embedded in me early on. Even I was the editor of my high school yearbook and had to write an editorial, and the theme of it was something to the effect: the Negro must face reality and improve himself or herself.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I was 17 or 18 years old, I was just naturally, and I didn't really realize it until I just kind of reflected on it, later on. So I had that concern about the community. But I also, I'm trained as a teacher. So, man, watch me.
Mm-hmm.
I had a radio TV repair shop, record shop, game room, newspaper, transportation company, another record shop, a flower shop, a magazine, you know, all of these businesses that really, all of which, I don't know whether I said car wash, all of which generated revenue.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have that Ash Cash guy, you know, who, although I had the good ideas and started the businesses, I didn't know what I was doing. So I probably lost more money than you lost. And I'm serious.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, I think that, man, just those two experiences, nothing can better describe or define what we're doing is important.
Yes.
Because if you had me in your life,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be worth, we'd be giving away. Here, I shouldn't say. I'm gonna say we'd be giving people money, to vote or register or what have
Yes.
you. Well, at least
Absolutely.
we'd have that kind of money,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know.
Agreed.
And if I had you in my life, you know what I'm saying? Then I wouldn't have been spent all that money when, hey, Cash. I used to buy leisure suits, man.
Mm-hmm.
I used to buy leisure suits. I had them tailor made.
Yep. Yep. Oof.
Every color
Oof.
you can imagine. I'm
Yeah.
spending $200-300 a month on
Mm-hmm.
getting me leisure. Some of them zip right here, some of
Yep.
them zip right here, some of them zip over here.
Yep.
You know, not understanding,
Yeah.
not knowing that at that time when I first went into the record business 50 years ago, so you were right
Mm-hmm.
on at least 5 decades.
Mm-hmm.
you know, if I had known, the power of investment and how to manage your money and
Yeah.
financial planning, which you are experiencing,
Absolutely.
then I'd be a multi-millionaire. So I think that naturally bespeaks
Yeah.
the power and the influence and the impact that we can have and quickly I just think about how, I think about, I'm not going to call their names, but they have been talking about ego now, edging God
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
There have been several mayors of several major cities in America
Yes.
who have phenomenal positions,
Mm-hmm.
but they egoed themselves out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They egoed themselves out. So I just, I just, I just think it's so important
Yeah.
to emphasize that, if we get together, we could be twice as impacted
Yeah.
and
And,
make twice the money.
exactly. And to that point though, too, about getting to certain positions and then like using that as an example is what that does. Like while some may think that it's only affecting that person, it's affecting the culture. It's affecting the ability to ever gain that power, right? And the thing that we got to realize too is, think about this connectivity, is what we're doing. This is not just about Macon, Georgia, right? This is about Albany. This is about Columbus. This is about, Birmingham. This is about, there are so many communities out there that we could be the model, right? And just show what we can do coming together. And so this is something that is phenomenal. This is going to be something that is going to lead the way. And it's all done in the heart, right? It's all
Yeah,
done because we
yeah,
care about the community and where the community goes.
yeah. And I just want to kind of recap it for everybody, not that we're finna quit right now. But my name is Alex C. Habersham, commonly known as AC. My compatriot over there is Ash Cash Exantus, also commonly known beginning today as AC. And I am, let's just say, uh, a few years older than Ash Cash. The other AC, and I've had some experiences, and he's a younger man, and we are connected. But what we're trying to do is to come together and pull together and use the resources unselfishly,
Mhm.
the knowledge and the brain power that each of us individually has, combine them and project them to the community with the sincere hope, with the unegotistical hope
Mhm.
that we can impart information and generate thoughts and generate actions that, in fact, will help somebody, will provide some information where you don't spend $200 or $300 a month on a leisure suit. I didn't. Hey, Ash, AC.
Yes, sir.
I didn't tell you about the floating boots, man. I bought.
Oof.
I had every color floating boot you could imagine. There were no color: blue,
Yeah.
black, orange, gray,
Yeah.
green. Spending that money because I didn't have the financial knowledge
Yes.
of financial planning and things of that nature. So I'm a living testimony.
Yes.
I'm a living testimony of the difference that it would have made to have had an Ash Cash in my life that I listened to.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be a multimillionaire today
Mm-hmm.
if I had had that knowledge. And what we're trying to do is to influence some people to let them know to make powerful, good decisions. So 15, 20 years down the road, they'll be thinking AC squared for the information presented to them that made a difference in their lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love it because, one thing that I've learned is, there are four types of people in this world. You have consumers, producers, investors, and philanthropists. And in our community, we consume, right? Which is why the dollar doesn't stay in our community, but for some hours, right? 6 hours on average, the dollar stays in our community because we get it and then we spend it, right? Right. When you spend money, you end money. And so you're spending it. And then now you're ending that cycle, which forces you back into how you got it in the first place. And this is why a lot of us, we live paycheck to paycheck. The money's coming in, but we're not doing anything to keep the money in our community. So now, right, we have to learn how to consume, right? We got to learn how to be producers. We have to learn how to invest, and we have to learn how to be philanthropists, how to support those causes that we care about. And that is the full circle. That's how you circulate money, right? That's why we call it currency, because it's supposed to circulate. It's energy, and we want that money to circulate.
That's absolutely true. Let me tell you another thing, and that both of us acknowledge AC squared. We don't know everything, so we invite your comments, your suggestions.
Absolutely.
So we will have a more formal. This is our first uh, real meeting. We've talked about it, but this is our kickoff. This is our kickoff. So what we would like for you to do is if you got some questions or some observations, you can email one or both of us. I am Habersham7. That's the best way to reach me. Habersham7 at gmail.com. And the other AC is
Info at iamashcash.com.
okay. This is a call to action. I am so happy to, and you ought to be happy too, because now you have seen the launching of AC squared. I've got two things to tell you. Number one, stay tuned. Number two, have a great day.
www.makingblackpages.com.